Hello and welcome to the Chandra Academy. Today we're going to do a little trigonometry exercise. So we have to solve the following inequation system. So let's focus on the first one, the A. So we have two inequations. So cosinus x has to be greater or equal to 1 over 2, sinus x has to be less or equal to 0, and x has to be in the interval minus pi, pi. So first, let's position ourselves in the appropriate trigonometric circle. So over here we have 0, we have minus pi, and pi. And now we're gonna fulfill the first inequation. First, we read the cosinus on this axis. 1 over 2 is over here, and it corresponds to the angle pi over 3, but it also corresponds to the angle minus pi over 3, like that. So to fulfill the first inequation, our cosinus has to be in the white zone. The second one, sinus x has to be less or equal to 0. So we read the sinus on this axis, and for it to be less than 0, it should be in this zone, in the red zone, like that. And now we want to fulfill both inequations at the same time. So it means that we have to be in the white zone and in the red zone at the same time. So it will be in this zone over here. So let's write it. Let's write the solution. Will be this interval from minus pi over 3 to 0. Minus pi over 3, 0. And we include both values because we include the equality in our inequations. Okay, so now let's do the second system, the B system. So we have two inequations, but this time x has to be in the interval 0 to p. So let's build the appropriate trigonometric circle. So we have 0 here, and we do a full circle, and we have 2 pi in the same space. So let's focus our attention on this inequation first. So cos x has to be strictly less than the square root of 3 over 2. So immediately when I see the square root of 3 over 2 and the cosinus, I remember that from the usual angles, the cosinus of pi over 6 is the square root of 3 over 2. And if you don't remember that, we have the following table that sums up those usual angles. So we have the cosinus, and this one, we can see it's for pi over 6. Okay, so let's put it on our circle. So here we have pi over 3, and over here pi over 6, and we can put it like that. Over here minus pi over 6. So if we look at the cosinus, we will look at this axis, and the inequation is fulfilled by every value in the white zone. So the white zone answers to this inequation. But we don't include this little part because it's not in our equation, and neither is those values. The pi over 6 is not included. All right. So we have this zone. Now let's focus on the first inequation. So the multiplication of cosinus and sinus has to be strictly superior to 0, so strictly positive. When is the result of a multiplication positive? There is two cases. First, if both terms, so cosinus and sinus are both positive. There is another case. It's if cosinus and sinus are both negative at the same time. In those cases, the result of the multiplication will be a positive. So now we ask ourselves, when is the cosinus and sinus positive? Well, the cosinus is positive in this hemisphere, all right? The sinus is positive in this hemisphere. So the cosinus and sinus are both positive in this quadrant, the first quadrant. So this would be our red zone. Let's put it like that, like such. So this answer to this. And now we ask ourselves, so when the cosinus is negative, the cosinus is negative in this hemisphere, the sinus is negative in this hemisphere, and so cosinus and sinus are both negative in this quadrant, the third quadrant. So let's put it in blue, for example, like so. Okay. So this inequation is fulfilled if we are in the red zone or in the blue zone. And now, to fulfill the system, so both inequations at the same time, we have to be in the blue zone or in the red zone, but at the same time in the white zone. So, lucky for us, the red zone is included in the white zone, some of it, and the blue zone is fully included in the white zone. Okay, so we have this quadrant over here. For example, this interval would be from pi all the way to 3 pi over 2. Okay, so we have the first interval. Sorry, pi, 3 pi over 2. Okay, and like so, we have to exclude both values because we have a strictly, it's a strict inequation. We don't have an equal sign, for example. Okay, so this belongs to this. This is for this quadrant. And now for this one, okay, we have to take this zone. So from pi over 6 all the way to pi over 2. All right. Excluded pi over 2, like so.